Today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you a fun and festive holiday card featuring the Lots of Lines stamp set by Beth Silaika. I'm also going to show you how to emboss in any Gina K Designs color you want to create a shiny texture in bright, vibrant hues. Let me show you the tools and products you're going to need to make this project. First, you're going to need some ink pads, and I'm going to be using the VersaMark ink for my embossing part of my project and the Gina K Designs BlueRaspberry ink for the greeting part of my project. Then you're going to need some stamps, and these are two of the huge stamps that come in the Lots of Lines stamp set. You can see how big this greeting is. This is the greeting that says Celebrate, and it's just huge. And then, because I wanted to make a Christmas card, I thought it would be fun to use the star image. But you can use any of the images in this set to do this same kind of card. And this card can translate well into a birthday card, a thank you card, a welcome card, any kind of card you want. Okay, then you're also going to need some ribbon, and I'm using some of the BlueRaspberry Organza ribbon. This is the 3/8 of an inch width, and a BlueRaspberry button, along with some black and white baker's twine. Then for cardstock, I have some of the Gina K Designs BlueRaspberry cardstock and some of our 80-pound white layering weight cardstock. You're also going to need a this is called the Embossing Magic Pad. This is an anti-static pad. It removes static from the surface of your card, so embossing powder only sticks to the parts that you want it to. And it also gets rid of any oils or any other type of debris that might hold embossing powder to it where you don't want it. For embossing powders, I'm using some of the Superfine Detail clear powder for my greeting. And for the stars, I'm using the Stampendous Fine Detail white powder. Then I also have some of this really pretty Ranger, this is the Stickles by Ranger, the fine glitter. So this is the dry glitter. Then I also have a Swiffer, and this is great not only for dusting your house, although my house is pretty dusty because I seem to use all my Swiffers for stamping, and I'll show you how to use that in just a little bit. I also have some scissors and a heat tool, and now we can begin. I'm going to start with this small section of BlueRaspberry cardstock, and I'm going to use some scrap paper underneath because I'm going to stamp off of this piece of cardstock, and I don't want to stamp on my work area. You can see I am rubbing over the surface of this piece of cardstock with that Embossing Magic Pad, the anti-static pad, and that will remove any of the static and oils. Now my next step is to grab that VersaMark pad, and I'm going to use the star stamp, and I'm going to stamp stars randomly all over this piece of cardstock. Now as I stamp, because these stars have, the star stamp has lines in it, I don't want it to look too patterned where all the lines are going in the same direction. So I'm going to turn the star each time I stamp it to make those lines go in different directions. So I'll put one in the center. That'll be my starting point. And you might be able to see that watermark left behind. You can see it when you're doing this in person pretty easily, and that will help you move the stars in different directions so you know the lines aren't all going in the same direction. So there's two. I think I'm going to fit about 5 on here. Put one here. And you can see that some of the points of the stars are going off the piece of cardstock, and that's good. That's what you want it to do. You want it to look more like patterned paper and not so much like all of the images are just stamped within those 4 borders of this piece of cardstock. And one more. And we'll do that one this way. Okay. So there are my 5 stars. Now I just have a little piece of copy paper here that I'm going to use. And I'm going to grab my white detail powder and sprinkle this all over the stars. And some people use a clothespin to hold their cardstock when they're embossing. It's a great idea. I don't have one with me, but that is a great idea. Tweezers are also another great idea to just hold an area where there isn't any embossing powder. Now you can see that that is all ready to be embossed. Let me slip this powder back into the bottle or the jar. That's what's nice about using a little piece of copy paper or cardstock. It makes it easy to get the embossing powder back in. Okay, so I'm going to start by embossing these, and as soon as I see that turn a bright white, I'm going to move on to the next section because I don't want to burn the embossing powder. I just want to keep it nice and shiny and smooth. And with white, you can really see the difference between the embossed ones and the non-embossed ones. The white gets so much brighter. And it really speeds up as it goes along. Once the heat tool gets hotter, then they start to really emboss quickly. And once I get to this end, I'm going to flip it around in my hand and do the other side. Okay, so these stars have a nice shine to them, and when I say shine, I mean that it's glossy. It has a nice glossy look to it. But I want to give it some sparkle. So my next step is to take another piece of copy paper and put that down, and then I'm going to grab some of this Stickles glitter, and I'm going to sprinkle the glitter right on top of the stars, and then brush away most of the excess. Well, I could put a little bit, oh, I can see that on there. It's going to be a little bit harder for you to see, but I'll do a little bit more, but there is glitter on there. It does kind of stick, so you'll be able to see how that's shimmering on those stars. But that is going to come right off. So the way we're going to get that glitter to stay on there is we're going to embed it inside of that embossing powder. And rather than heat on top, we're going to heat it from underneath, because when you heat it from underneath, there's less of a chance that you're going to burn the embossing powder, and you're also not going to blow the glitter off. You're going to allow the glitter to sit on top, the embossing powder will get hot from underneath, and the glitter will sink down in, and then once it cools, the glitter will be embedded into the embossing powder. So we're going to do that by just hitting that from behind and letting it really heat up. There we go. Little heat. Let me move my hand out of the way here. And you can almost see that it goes from being really glittery to being really opalescent. So you can see how I'm doing that. And then once that's all done, it does take on a little bit of a different look. And once it's embedded in there, then it's okay to go a little bit onto the top, because you are not going to blow the glitter away at that point because it's embedded into the powder. Okay. Now we're going to give that just a minute to cool. Doesn't take very long, just a minute or so. And we're going to grab that Swiffer, and you can use the Swiffer to brush away any of the glitter that's stuck to the other parts of the cardstock so it just stays on the stars. And now you can see all of that shimmer in there, that glitter is in those stars. You can really see it down here. So now you went from having shiny stars to glittery stars. And then the Swiffer is a great way to clean up that loose glitter from all over your desktop, because if you've ever used glitter before, you know that you use glitter in your stamp room, and you find it in your bathroom, and you find it in your bed, and you find it everywhere. It's just, you can't get rid of it. So the Swiffer helps to catch a lot of that loose stuff so you don't track it throughout your house. Now, I want to add a greeting here, but I want my greeting to be in the blue raspberry. One of the downsides of stamping just in a dye ink is if part of your card is all shiny and raised and textured because it's embossed, the other part's going to appear kind of flat. It'll be colorful, but it will be flat. So I want to show you how you can make any color ink any of our Gina K Designs ink into ink that you can emboss. It's very, very simple to do, and it will not ruin your ink pad at all. What you're going to do is start by inking up the stamp using VersaMark. So you want to get that nice wet VersaMark ink on there. Then the next step is to add the BlueRaspberry ink, but I do want to get my embossing powder ready and my little scratch piece of paper here. And I'm going to use the clear embossing powder for this because I don't want to add any color. I just want to add raised shine. So now I have the VersaMark on there, and now I'm going to add the BlueRaspberry right on top. And I'm going to stamp that down at the bottom of this piece of white cardstock. So I want to stamp that, make sure that that ink transferred. There we go. And then immediately I want to coat that with some of this embossing powder. Then I'm going to blow away the excess. And now you can see it's almost kind of dull, but let's zoom in a little bit on that. You can see that's kind of dull, but watch how shiny it gets when I hit it with the heat tool. And then the color comes out. See how the color's coming out now? There we go. And now I have this shiny greeting, just like it's embossed with regular embossing powder in color, but it's in a custom Gina K Designs color, so I know it's going to match my cardstock, my ribbon, my button, all of my embellishments. And it just opens up a whole world of embossing opportunities for you based on what different colors you have in your collection of dye ink pads. And again, that little bit of VersaMark will not hurt your ink pad at all. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never had a problem with an ink pad doing this technique. So now my next step for this card project, and this is a real nice and simple one. It's easy to mail, easy to mass produce. I'm going to mount the stars on top of that white piece of cardstock. Put a little bit in the middle there since it's a little bit curled from being embossed. And that's just going to go on the top there. And then I'm going to create a line across the center using some of this ribbon. And I'm going to do that so that a little bit of the ribbon is on top and a little bit is underneath. And that makes the ribbon look two-toned. You see how that looks? It's kind of a cool look. So we'll snip a little piece of that off, and we'll position that where we want it and tape that onto the back. I could have cut that ribbon a little shorter, but that's all right. Okay. Then I'm going to add an embellishment, and I'm going to do that right about there, and I'm going to use a little bit of this black baker's twine. Let me find the end. There we go. Just cut a piece of that, and I'm going to slip it through one side of the button, and then I'm going to slip it under that ribbon. Get it to the other side. And then it's going to go back through the other side of the button. You're going to have a lot of fun looking through your Gina K Designs buttons for just the right button, just the right color. Our BlueRaspberry buttons have a wide array of shades and hues in the BlueRaspberry tones, so you can either match it spot on or use something a little bit deeper or a little bit lighter. And then this is going to turn into a little bow. Tighten that up. Make that into a little black and white bow there. Didn't want my loops quite that big. And you can slide that around a little bit. If you need to move it, you can. I'm going to leave it on the end there, though. And then this whole panel, and if you want, you can tack that down with a little bit of score tape or a pop dot. Pop dots work really great for the buttons. And then this whole thing is going to go on top of that blue raspberry card base. And you can see I'm using a lot of tape back here because I want to flatten out that little bit of warped stuff going on there from the embossing. So I want it to all stick real well to the card base. There we go. And there is my finished card project. And on my other card, I grabbed the original card that I made. Same card, I just grabbed it a little bit of a different hue of button, and it had a little bit of a different center there. So you can see, you can use all different kinds of buttons to make these cards, and that really adds a nice little touch. And again, you can see now everything is shiny. The greeting is shiny at the bottom, and the stars are shiny and glittery at the top. So there is the finished card. Whether you're making sparkly holiday cards or all-occasion gift sets, the Lots of Lines stamp set will be a go-to set throughout the winter and beyond.